Why install a massive driver package if you only use half the features? Today we're stripping back the NVIDIA installer to its core essentials to keep your OS as clean and efficient as possible. NVCleanstall helps you do this. This app gives you a lot of options and flexibility. The download link is in the description. When you first run the app, your GPU or video card will be displayed. The next line will indicate the currently installed driver. The 4 sections to the right will show the driver type, whether it's 64-bit, desktop or mobile laptop, and if you have the studio version installed. When you're online, the Install Best Driver for My Hardware section is populated with the latest official driver. If you choose to manually select a driver version, this can be good if you want to install a driver you know works, or if the latest official driver has issues with the app or game you're using. You can also select the studio version of the driver. This is more tailored to productivity apps like Adobe Studio or DaVinci Resolve. There is a checkbox option to show all versions. I don't recommend selecting this option as you'll be presented with many older drivers. Most people won't find a benefit because these drivers will likely not support your GPU or running an older version of Windows. This is more of an advanced feature and should only be touched by people that know what they're doing. The third option is to use the drivers on disk. This is an excellent option if you're performing a clean installation, as well as for those that wish to remain offline during the driver installation process. The last two options are far less likely to be used. Installing NVCleanstall as an app, instead of a portable standalone app, is not needed unless you plan to uninstall and reinstall drivers on a very frequent basis. Periodically, checking for driver updates defeats the purpose of sticking to a clean installation. You don't need to install every driver update. It may be best to stick to the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. After you hit next, the components displayed are based on the choice you made. Older NVIDIA drivers will have different options. By default, the display driver is chosen. However, if you make a use of an HDMI or DisplayPort audio cable to your monitor or TV, as well as if you stream or make use of a capture card on a different computer, select the recommended option. If you're using a laptop or notebook, you'll likely install the Optimus component. Check each of the options to see if you require them. If you decide to use the NVIDIA app, you can select only what you need, but there are dependencies. Be sure to check the description on the right to make sure you select those dependencies. If you don't, the NVIDIA app will either not work or crash when you launch it. Once the app downloads the driver or looks at the driver you provided, you can further customize the installation. This is based off the latest NVCleanstall version 1.19. If a newer app comes out after this video has been posted, or you use an older version of the NVCleanstall app, your options may differ. Let's go through the options. Disable installer telemetry and advertising. This option only affects the setup process. It stops the installer from collecting and sending your hardware info to NVIDIA. It skips any ads or promotions shown during the installation. Once the drivers are installed, checking this has no further effect. Unattended express installation means you don't have to do anything, just let it run on its own. For allow automatic reviews if needed, I recommend turning it off if you have other apps open like Office documents or music playing in the background. Perform a clean installation will wipe out remnants of any previous NVIDIA drivers from the system first. I don't check this option as I use DDU, otherwise known as Display Driver Uninstaller. Add hardware support is for advanced users. Enable DLSS indicator is not needed. Disable multiplane overlay is optional. It may address stuttering or flickering, but it could add stutters or latency. Skip unless you have a problem. Disable Ansel. This removes the in-game photography tool. Performance impact is non-existent on recent drivers. Skip unless you're on older hardware. When you check Show Expert Tweaks, more advanced options appear. On recent NVIDIA drivers, especially mid to high-end GPUs like the RTX 40 or 50 series, most of these have little to no real performance impact. Disable driver telemetry. This experimental option tries to remove tracking from the driver, like hardware usage or crash reporting to NVIDIA. It can reduce background pings for privacy. It's not always 100% effective in recent drivers, and some anti-cheat systems don't like modified drivers. If you check this, the NVIDIA driver will need to be rebuilt and digitally signed once again. This could cause issues with apps like Faceit. Make sure to check the method compatible with Easy Anti-Cheat if you decide to use this. You can also automatically accept the driver unsigned warning. Disable NVIDIA Container. This will stop the NVIDIA control panel from working, but it may break Windows borderless apps or games. Disable NVIDIA HD Audio Device Sleep Timer. This stops the HD audio driver from going to sleep. The default setting could prevent devices from waking up. Enable Message Signal Interrupts. This enables MSI mode for better responsiveness and potential latency improvements. RTX 40 series and newer often have this enabled by default in recent drivers. When enabled, it shows options for interrupt policy and priority. If you decide to check this, you can set priority to high for gaming stability. Results may vary. Disable HDCP. HDCP is for digital content protection. If you have older or entry-level hardware, checking this may slightly improve performance. If you use any devices like a VR headset, don't disable this feature. Apply NVENC video encoding session limit patch. This removes NVENC encoding session limits for consumer and video GPUs. This is not necessary with recent drivers. Start external application. This lets you run a custom program or script automatically right before or after the driver installation finishes. I don't use it and most people won't need it. When you click next, you'll have 4 choices: install, show in folder, copy folder, or build package. This is the TLDR of the 4 options. Install. It begins the installation process right away, and once it's done, you can close NVCleanstall. Show in folder. A Windows Explorer window will open the modifications made in a temporary folder before installing. This is for advanced users. Copy folder. This copies the prepared driver files to a folder of your choice. It's for advanced users that use the output directory for manual use or backups. Most people use build package or install. Build package. It creates an installer for future use. Let's install the driver with the options previously selected. The driver's been installed successfully. If you enabled MSI mode, you'll need to either reboot your PC or disable and re-enable your NVIDIA GPU in Device Manager to make sure it applies. Let me know which settings work for you in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good one.